NASA, SpaceX, and Boeing in the Commercial Crew Program the most anticipated spacecraft launch as we unveil Dragon, SpaceX's innovative creation designed for safely ferrying crews to the awe-inspiring International Space Station. Discover the untamed spirit of Dragon and its relentless reliability, winning the trust of space agencies and garnering the admiration of fearless astronauts who venture into unknown territory. Discover why space agencies around the world place their trust in Dragon and why astronauts deeply admire this remarkable spacecraft. Delivering both safety and reliability in ferrying crews to the revered International Space Station, the Dragon has proven its incredible capabilities, earning the trust of space agencies worldwide. In 2014, SpaceX and Boeing joined NASA's Commercial Crew Program together. One was a venerable giant with a legacy in aerospace that stretched back more than 100 years and a role in every major moment in NASA's history. The other was a relative upstart that in its early days was derided as little more than a delusional billionaire's fantasy and that critics said was building its rockets out of wax and rubber bands. No one thought Elon Musk's SpaceX would ever beat Boeing to space. However, the result is completely opposite, recognized by astronauts. The whole world watched the miraculous landings and flights that took humans beyond the boundaries of the Earth, and the astronauts' favor for SpaceX Dragon emerged as something undeniable. Meanwhile, Starliner is still struggling to fix the software, hoping the first manned flight will go smoothly after many delays. And even if it does fly in the near future, the astronauts won't care about it anymore. Join us in exploring the incredible feats of Dragon and its gateway to the stars. And the question is, why do astronauts prefer SpaceX Dragon to Starliner? Discuss everything about this in today's episode.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of my channel.
But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and enable notifications to stay up to date with the latest news from SpaceX and the world of space. Dragon is the spacecraft developed by SpaceX. It has enjoyed remarkable success and has become a cornerstone in space exploration. The spacecraft's resiliency and reliability were demonstrated through a series of successful missions, especially those involving ferrying crews to the International Space Station. Since then, Dragon has received the trust of space agencies and the admiration of astronauts. The latest completed flight with a crew was Axia Mission 2. Dragon was once mocked as just a trampoline, but now it has become much more superior. It was launched on May 21, 2023 and successfully docked a month later. SpaceX, we would like to tell you, that was a phenomenal ride, said Ax-2 Commander Peggy Whitson, a former NASA astronaut and veteran of 4 spaceflights just after splashdown. We really enjoyed all of it. Every story comes to an end, and this is only the beginning of a new era for our country and our region, Barnaby said during a farewell ceremony on the ISS on May 29. So I'd just like to thank everyone here who has helped us, she added, fighting back tears. These guys, they welcomed us on board, the Ax-2 commander said, referring to the crew members of the ISS Current Expedition 69 mission, and they've helped us a lot, but they've also just been so courteous and kind, and we really appreciate all of that. We felt at home while we were here. Thank you, and I will be back. The previous flight, SpaceX Crew 6, was launched on March 2, 2023 and docked with the International Space Station nearly 1 month later. The members of SpaceX's Crew 6 mission, which has spent more than 6 months aboard the International Space Station, delivered their farewell remarks from orbit, thanking everyone for their support as they prepare to depart on September 2. When we showed up here 6 months ago, it was a new experience for all of us. NASA astronaut and Crew 6 Commander Stephen Bowen said during the live-streamed remarks on NASA television. I'd been to space, but never been on a long-duration mission, and this has been an absolutely incredible experience. I felt that I'm responsible, obligated to show what's happening with the station, almighty the first person from the UAE to do a long-duration mission and a spacewalk, said of his outreach focused especially on the UAE, which included hundreds of posts on social media with pictures and videos that documented his daily activities. I think it's a small boost towards spreading the enthusiasm in our region. I can't be happier. At the time I was here, I was doing everything possible. The interests of these astronauts are not merely coincidental, rather. They stem from the outstanding features and capabilities built into Dragon's design. During both missions, astronauts experienced firsthand the cutting-edge technology and innovations that make Dragon stand out, and obviously Starliner was quickly forgotten. Why is Dragon given greater priority by astronauts? For the most part, one thing is for sure. The Dragon's success has been proven through completed flights. It is very safe and reliable. Since 2020, the Crew Dragon spacecraft has performed 10 missions, 7 flights for NASA and 3 flights for commercial customers. These flights included many firsts, such as Inspiration 4, the first fully commercial spaceflight, and Axiom 1, the first fully commercial mission to the ISS. Several more Axiom flights as well as commercial flights from Polaris, the Inspiration 4's successor, are planned. To tell all of SpaceX's missions, an 8-minute video cannot cover them all. Regular flights to the ISS are not only an opportunity to participate in research and experiments, but also provide an immersive experience in space. For astronauts, schedule flexibility is an important factor. Meanwhile, Boeing is still trying to conduct the first test flight with a crew taking off from the ground in April 2024. On top of that, in terms of size and capacity, the SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft has a diameter of 3.7 meters and a length of 8.1 meters, while the Boeing Starliner spacecraft has a diameter of 4.56 meters and a length of 5.3 meters. This means that the SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft is somewhat wider and taller than the Boeing Starliner spacecraft. Astronauts have more space to move and work. The roomier confines of the Crew Dragon spacecraft offer astronauts, allowing them to navigate and conduct experiments with greater ease. This additional space becomes particularly crucial during long-duration missions, where comfort and functionality play pivotal roles in ensuring the well-being and efficiency of the crew. The Crew Dragon spacecraft can accommodate a maximum of 7 astronauts, while NASA's Commercial Crew program doesn't require more than 4 astronauts at a time. SpaceX faced challenges related to concerns about gay forces during splashdown. In response to these concerns, SpaceX had to adjust the angle of the seats. This modification meant that they could no longer accommodate 7 seats as originally planned. Consequently, they had to reduce the seating capacity to just 4. Meet the crew, Axiom Mission 3. The 4 astronauts of the Axiom 3 mission are getting ready to launch to the International Space Station. The third private astronaut mission is set to head to the orbiting outpost on board a SpaceX Dragon spacecraft named Freedom, which will launch from Historic Launch Complex 39A. Before the crew departs the planet, for the first time, let's get to know the astronauts of the AX-3 mission. Mission Specialist Marcus Won't will be making his first trip to space of any kind. Like many Europeans who came before him, he's flying the European Space Agency flag and has been training hard since his selection as part of the astronaut class of 2022. However, he's representing a new type of astronaut for ESA. Won't is a member of ESA's so-called reserve pool of astronauts. In a nutshell, Won't is not a career astronaut who's a full-time employee of ESA, but rather one of 11 who may get opportunities to fly to space through commercial ventures. Won't, through the backing of Sweden, was granted a ticket to ride through this opportunity provided by Axiom Space. Being a part of pioneering a new way for Europe to gain access to space and to increase the frequency and the presence of not only the European president's goals, but also the European science and the benefit for what we can do here on Earth, and that brings everyone forward. Before becoming a member of the astronaut reserve, Won't served in the Swedish Air Force as a fighter pilot and a test pilot. Having served his country for more than a decade, he said this was a pivotal time for Sweden's flag to fly on the ISS once again. Sweden is celebrating 500 years of independence this year, the 6th of June, 1523. Gustav Vasa was selected the King of Sweden by an assembly in Strängnäs, 59 kilometers west of Stockholm. The distinction is noted in the mission patch with the 500 at the base of it. The 100 that's across it represents the other mission specialists on this AX-3 flight, Alper Gezerovja. Like Sweden, Turkey is also marking an important anniversary, its centennial. And like Won't, Gezerovja also served his country's Air Force as a fighter pilot. He spent 15 years flying several types of aircraft and served as the Standardization Squadron Academic Wing Commander. He says that training was a key primer to becoming an astronaut. As a fighter pilot, we have already went through several years long hard training, both physically and mentally. how to handle different scenarios in both nominal normal as well as emergency conditions. So having this experience and being able to reflect this into the space-related trainings that we have been going through for the last 5.5, almost 6 months long period, it really gave all of us the chance to be able to reflect that experience and the knowledge and how to handle all the new information and the training that we need to digest. 44-year-old Gezerovja is the first astronaut from Turkey. He applied for the role among 36,000 others and was one of just 30 who was called up to the Turkish capital of Ankara for the final approval. It's responsibility that he says is not only important to the country but also to him as someone who long dreamed about being among the stars. As a person who had to limit his dreams all the way from beginning, relating to the space and which was limited with the sky that I could see with my bare eyes, that is not a result for our future generations. Now their pet is open and this spaceflight is not a destination of our journey. This is just the beginning. Gezerovja isn't the only member of this quartet who's finally living out his spacefaring dreams. So too is the AX-3 pilot, Walter Villaday. Unlike his two mission specialist crewmates, Villaday has considerably more experience training to become an astronaut. He's currently a colonel in the Italian Air Force and oversees its commercial spaceflight initiatives here in the U.S. His flight to the ISS also comes during the centennial celebration of the Italian Air Force. It's very important to us because it's an important opportunity to really celebrate and recall the core values of our armed forces, which is the commitment in defense of our country and our allies, but also the professionalism of people that every day is devoting and serving the country and trying to do their best in the job they have, and of course the passion of flying. Moreover, back in 2011 he went through cosmonaut training in Star City, Russia in the hopes of launching the space on board of Soyuz someday. In a similar vein to ESA's astronaut reserve approach, Villaday says it's important to create these new pathways for more people to get to space. The partnership with AXEM is right away proving that the world is changing. We are really opening up to a new phase of the commercial spaceflight at the exploitation of the LEO Earth orbit, so whatever and all the things that we are doing as Air Force, first of all to increase our skills and competencies in the aerospace. In preparation for this mission, Villaday also had the opportunity to fly a suborbital spaceflight with another commercial provider, Virgin Galactic. It's definitely a nice platform to test and to strengthen all these training capabilities. So I would say that definitely in my view was an added value to put together this combination of different flights, and on top of that I would say that I think it's really interesting to use this platform to test some preliminary experiments that then afterwards we can scale up and let them fly on ISS. While Villaday certainly gained a lot of experience on his path to this mission, by far the most prepared AX-3 crew member is its commander Michael Lopez Alegria. Preparing for just one mission to space is sometimes a feat only achieved once in a lifetime, but for Commander Lopez Alegria this will be his 6th distinct trip to orbit. Only 4 others have launched 7 or more times. It's a record he may achieve before too much longer, as he and former NASA astronaut Peggy Whitson are currently the only 2 who share the responsibility of commanding these private astronaut missions. So I would say that we have some plans in the future to expand our astronaut corps to meet the demands, but for right now the 2 of us are able to share the load quite nicely, and I don't have to tell you, it's quite a privilege to be able to fly to space this often, especially at this point in our careers. LA, as many call him, began logging hours in space with STS-73 back in 1995 and liftoff with a Space Shuttle Columbia. He notched 2 more Space Shuttle flights and a trip aboard a Russian Soyuz before retiring as a NASA astronaut. He's also in a small club of 9 people who have flown in 3 different spacecraft at launch now that he's added a SpaceX crew drag into his resume. He says even though his experience in space is far beyond that of his crew mates, they're more than ready for this next leap. If it is an evidence, it's really fortunate that this is an amazingly prepared crew. I think this is for a private astronaut mission and it's exceptional, but really for any mission the level of training and experiences that these folks bring to our crew is really remarkable, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing that put into practice when we get to orbit. And while preparing for a mission is a rigorous process once, let alone 6 times, it's a tall task that Mike L.A. says he doesn't want to give up anytime soon. It never gets old. I think I have more appreciation with every launch that approaches. I think you put some of these things in the rearview mirror and it helps you put them in perspective, and the first time you go you're just sort of hanging on for dear life and enjoying the ride, but I think you appreciate each one a little bit more, especially when you realize just how rare an opportunity it is, so I'm happy to keep doing This Axiom would definitely like to continue doing private astronaut missions. We'll probably have other commanders in the future, but as long as they ask me to fly and I'll be raised. And that's about it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and that's all for today's update. If you enjoyed watching and found it useful, please make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the like button. And if you want to support our channel and if you want to be up to date, you can become an exclusive member, so click on our perks through the link in the description below. Thanks to watching and see you next time.